Udah.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hello friends, today we are going to presenting our work about sound, spelling, and symbol on phonetics and phonology class. Okay, so the group is consists of, so there is Faqih Fauzi, Arif Munadi, Anindya Marsa, and Mahesa Putra. And next one. So the first is a brief explanation of phonetics and phonology. Next. Most humans, leaving aside from now native user of sign languages, also use sound for linguistic signaling, but the structure of the human's vocal organs allow an articulately wide range of sounds to be used, and they are also put together in an extraordinary sophisticated way. There are two subdisciplines in linguistics which deal with sound, namely phonetics and phonology. Phonetics deal with production, transmission, and reception of all human speech sound in general with no particular references to any one language. It is the basis of the further work in morphology, syntax, discourse, and orthography design. Second is phonology. Deal with the ways those sounds are organized in particular language. It is a category of phonetics. It is the basis for phonological analysis. Next. Okay, so this is phonetic and phonology. Okay, the next one will be read by Anindya.
Thanks, Arif. Okay, phonetics provides objective ways of describing and analyzing the range of sounds humans use in their languages. More specifically, articulatory phonetics identifies precisely which speech organs and muscles are involved in producing in different sounds of the world's languages. The sounds are then transmitted from the speaker to the hearer, and acoustic and auditory phonetics focus on the physics of speech as it travels through the air in the form of sound waves, and the effect those waves have on a hearer cars on and brain. It follows that phonetics has strong associations with anatomy, physiology, physics, and neurology. However, although knowing what sounds we can in principle make and use is part of understanding what makes us human. Each person grows up learning and speaking only a particular human language or languages, and each language only makes use of a subset of the full range of possible, producible, and distinguishable sounds. When we turn to the one characteristic of the English sound system that make it specifically English and different from the French always or Quechua, we move into the domain of phonology, which is the language-specific selection and enunciation of sounds to signal meanings. Next. And then kind of sounds. There are two sounds in English, one vocal and two consonant. Vocal or vowel sound has 20 sound symbols which divided by two forms. Monophthong sounds or single sounds and diphthong sounds or double sounds. And then consonant sounds has 24 sound symbols which divide to 6 forms of sound. Stop sounds, fricative sound, nasal sound, quiet sound, liquid sound, and fricative sound. Next. And how does sound work? You can see it on the picture. And next, we'll read by Faqih.
Okay, thank you. Variation phonetics. Variation phonetics is universal, while phonology is language specific. But things are not quite that simple. First, phonologists also attempt to distinguish those patterns which are characteristic of a single language and simply reflect its history from other where more universal motivation is at issue. In the case of the absence of nil or more generally the absence of word initial clusters, we are dealing with a fake or modern English. The same goes for other initial clusters, such as this again was common in Old English. as in want to know and survives into modern English spelling, though it is not simply pronounced against, is also perfectly normal in other languages, include German, where we find knap, boy, knie, knee. However, phonological difference also exists below the level of the language. Frequently, two people think of themselves as speakers of the same language, but vary in their usage. Sometimes you do say tomato, while I say tomato. If you say the words interpret and incoherent to yourself as naturally as you can, and concentrate on the first consonant written end, you may observe that this signals two different sounds. In the palates, the front of your tongue will move up behind your top front teeth for the end and stay there for the T. But in incoherent, you are producing the sound usually indicated by in English spelling, with your tongue will rise much further back in the mouth, sense that word is going for the following. Spelling is an important aspect of writing. Good spelling knowledge is the engine for efficient reading and writing. Many researchers prove that English spelling is complex, while some intellectuals argue that English spelling has regularity. Next, several kinds of variation that have been formed. On the other, a speaker-by-speaker account would be too detailed and neglect what unifies speakers and allows them to recognize one another as using the same system. A small number of varieties divided by Southern Standard British English, Scottish Standard English, General American, and New Zealand English. The next page will be read by Mahesa.
Okay, thank you, Faqih. Symbols. IPA, or International Phonetic Alphabet. The International Phonetic Alphabet was proposed in 1888. It has been under constant review ever since by the International Phonetic Association, and the latest revision dates from 1996. It is true that a certain amount of learning is required to become familiar with the conventions of the IPA and the characteristic of 6. An introduction to English phonology. Sounds underlying the notation. But once you know that tutut is a symbol of that, and an alveolar click, it always be possible to produce the relevant sound accurately. To write it down unambiguously and to recognize it in another languages. An IPA transcription will not tell you what a pamphlet is, or glare, or a beji if you don't know, but at least you have the comfort of knowing how the natives pronounce it. The APA supplies alternative symbol in cases where speakers will be quite sure they are hearing the same thing. And this is not universal limitation of human ears, but rather varies from language to language. Thank you for listening.
Okay, I think that's all that we can show you. This is the credit from the material before. You can read it here. Thank you so much for the attention and listening. Thank you so much. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.